No, Judge, it's not some pictures. We already got the 911 recorded back.
And Mr. Shelley? Mr. Shelley, court?
He is, Judge.
Where's Mr. Shelley?
He's in the front row.
Oh, Mr. Shelley. I received, Ms. Lord forwarded to me the memo you had sent to her. If your publication is desirous of filing an application in the court to be heard on the issues you raised, they have every right to do so. I would ask counsel to file the appropriate application at their convenience. We'll have a hearing expeditiously. All right, sir?
Thank you, Judge.
And now, we can bring everybody else in. Is there, for the media, is there a mic up here?
No, sir.
Okay, great.
Nothing there, nothing there.
Great, thank you.
No problem. By the way, though, could we put microphones on that table in front of the jury? As long as there's no wires in the...
There's no wires, I don't see anything.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good morning, counsel. This is the continuation in the trial in the matter of State of New Jersey versus David Creato Jr. The matter comes before the court under indictment 134-1-16. Counsel, your appearances for the record, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Christine Shaw, on behalf of the state.
Good morning, Your Honor. Captain Moran, on behalf of the state. Your Honor, good morning. Commissioner Davis, female here with David Creato.
All right, as soon as we get everybody in the courtroom, we'll bring the jury around. Ms. Shaw, you ready for your witness?
I am, Judge. Thank
Can we bring the jury around, please?
Please rise.
Everyone, please be seated. Background, this Creato claimant had a pleasant weekend. I think during that period of time we were getting those April showers that are supposed to bring your big flowers. That being said, we're ready to proceed to shop.
We are, Your Honor.
Next witness, please.
Thank you, Judge. The state's been called Lisa Creato.
I ask you to come forward, ma'am, stand right in front of the clerk, just right here to my left.
Judge, good morning. I'm going to have to ask you to keep your voice up, okay? Okay, you're right. Tell ladies and gentlemen of the jury what your name is.
Lisa Ann Creato.
Are you married?
Yes.
And what is your husband's name?
David Joseph Creato Sr.
And do you and David Sr. have any children?
Yes.
What are their names?
Sarah Jessica Creato and David Joseph Creato Jr. that we call him DJ.
So the defendant is your son, correct?
Yes.
Where do you live?
22 Virginia Avenue, Westmont, New Jersey.
And who currently lives in the house with you?
My daughter Sarah and my husband David.
How many bedrooms do you have in the house?
3 upstairs and we made a bedroom in the basement for my husband and I.
Do you and your husband still stay in the basement bedroom?
Yes.
And where does your daughter sleep?
Up in the front room bedroom.
Back in 2015, what were the other 2 bedrooms in the upstairs used for?
Front room was my bedroom, now it was my Sarah's bedroom.
Okay.
The middle bedroom was Brendan's bedroom, and the bathroom was DJ and Sam's bedroom.
Okay. And tell us who Brendan is.
My grandson.
And why does Brendan still have a room at your house?
Because he spent the night sometimes.
In 2015, did Brendan keep his stuff at your house as well?
Yes.
And what kind of stuff did he keep of his was at your house?
Clothes, toys.
And what was the reason for that?
The reason it was just easier to keep some stuff in my house.
When did Brendan stop living at your house full time? Do you remember?
I don't remember the date.
Was it after his parents broke up?
Sam stayed with us for a while.
Okay, and Sam and Brendan, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then eventually they both moved out?
Yes.
And after that, would Brendan come stay with you and your husband and Sarah?
Yes.
How often would that happen?
Depended on the weekend if DJ had him or not.
On the nights that Brendan spent at your house, would he ever wake up at night?
Yes.
And what would he do if he woke up?
He usually went to Sarah.
So where was his bedroom? Where was Brendan's bedroom in relationship to Sarah's bedroom?
When Sam moved out, we moved his bedroom to the back room where Sam and DJ used to sleep.
Okay, is that a bigger bedroom?
No, she wanted the middle bedroom as like a living room area.
Okay. She being Sarah?
Yes.
Did Brendan ever end up sleeping in the basement with you and your husband?
Sometimes.
And how would that happen?
If he woke up and she couldn't get him back to sleep, she'd bring him down to us.
Okay. Did he ever come down to you guys by himself?
Only in the morning.
Was Brendan afraid of anything?
The dark.
And what, if anything, would you do to ease his fear of the dark when he was going to be spending the night with you, at your house?
I had a night light in his room and I left the hall light on and I had to leave the door open.
During all the times that he was with you, you know, if you guys were out and about, did he ever cross the street by himself?
No.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about your son here, Mrs. Creato. When did he move out of your house? Do you recall?
Like a year. He's had the house for probably about a year. I don't remember exact dates.
Would you consider that time to be when he went to California?
No, when he moved back from California, he was in the house for a little bit, but then he got an apartment in Brooklyn.
When he went to California, who did he go to California with?
Owen,
Is that one of his friends?
yes,
And he was just gone for the summer?
yes,
And then, just to make sure I understand you correctly, he came back to your house for a little bit, but then he got his own place in Brooklyn?
yes.
Do you remember how long he lived in Brooklyn?
Maybe a half a year.
At that time when he lived in Brooklyn, did your son have any pets?
Yes,
What kind of pets did he have?
a rat and a
Remember?
cat.
A rat and a cat? Interesting combination. And what was the rat's name?
Tattle.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Tattle,
Tattle?
or tail, one, tattle or tail.
Looking back in 2015, did your son work? Did he have a job?
Yes,
And what did he do?
he worked with my husband.
And what did they do together?
He worked side by side with my husband, making sure deliveries got to the job, like the siding or the roofing or whatever they were doing, the windows. And he ran errands for my husband and that kind of stuff. And he did gutters.
Let me back you up for a minute. Does your husband have his own company?
He did, not anymore.
Okay, what was the name of it at the time?
Creato windows and doors.
And were your husband or was your son still working for your husband in October of 2015?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to ask you to keep yours on October of 2015, okay? Particularly Columbus Day weekend, which was the weekend of October the 9th. Do you remember that weekend? What was the status of your son's car?
His Dodge Dart.
Is that the car he had at the time?
It was parked by my house, it broke down.
Do you know what was the matter with it?
Some kind of computer problem.
So what was he using for transportation that weekend?
My husband's truck.
Is that like, do they use that truck for work as well?
Yes.
And is that a pickup truck?
Yes.
What color is it?
It's black.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to, well, that weekend, were you aware of anyone coming to visit your son?
He had a friend coming in from town,
Okay, and who was that?
Kevin.
Oh, okay. And was Kevin's girlfriend was coming too?
Yes.
What was her name?
Amanda.
Okay, and at this time, did your son have a girlfriend?
Julie.
And to your knowledge, was Julie coming that weekend as well?
Yes.
Do you know when Julie arrived?
No.
So I want to direct your attention to that Saturday. So now we're at October the 10th. Did you have Brendan that day?
I did.
Had that been arranged ahead of time?
Yeah. I wanted to take him to the zoo.
And did you do that?
Yes.
And did DJ, your son, have plans that weekend?
Yes.
What were his plans?
Kevin was in town. They were just getting together.
So when did you get Brendan?
Saturday morning,
What time was it about?
10 or 11. I'm not positive time.
How did you get him?
DJ dropped him off.
Brought him to your house?
Yes.
And what time did you guys go to the zoo?
Probably around noon.
And how long did you spend at the zoo?
We were there probably all day till like dinner time.
And when you've taken, on times when you've taken Brendan out like that, like when you were gonna have him all day, or like at the beach or something like that, how would you transport him around?
In my Hyundai Veracruz in a car seat.
Okay. Did you, once you got to the zoo though, did you have a stroller or a wagon or something for him?
Wagon.
Use a wagon? Okay, so after you spent the day at the zoo, what did Brendan do when you guys got back to your house?
He fell asleep in the car, so I just laid him on the couch.
Did he have dinner at your house that night?
When he woke up, yes.
And did he spend the night at your house?
Yes.
Can you just give us a general idea? What would your routine with Brendan be when he was going to spend the night at your house? How would you get him into bed and sleeping?
After I got him in his pajamas, we usually made popcorn and watch like a movie like Frozen or something.
Did you ever lay down with him in his bed?
Yes.
Did that help him get to sleep?
Well, he was kind of wound up because he took a long nap from the zoo.
Did he wake up late?
Well, we were upstairs till probably about 11. I kept reading the books and I just let him play. And I finally said I had to go to bed.
And what did you do with regard to the lights in his bedroom before you told him it was time for bed?
He actually asked me to keep the light on in the hallway, but I always had the night light on too.
And did you do that night?
I did.
And did he sleep through the night for you that night?
He did.
Okay, do you remember what time he woke up?
Probably around 8, maybe earlier. I don't really remember.
How late did you have him that morning?
And DJ picked him up at 10, so Dan was going to come get him.
So this was on Sunday morning then, correct? After that Sunday morning, when was the next time you saw Brendan?
Monday night.
What time did you see him?
Probably around 7 or 8. I don't remember times. He's being dropped off to get a bath.
So when you saw him, it was at your house?
Yes.
And did he take a bath at your house a lot?
Yes.
And why was that?
Because TJ only had a shower. They're only a block away.
Who brought him to your house?
DJ.
And did DJ stay or did he go back to his place?
He went back to his place.
Who gave Brendan his bath that night?
My daughter, Sarah.
What was he dressed in after his bath was done?
His pajamas and slippers.
And who picked his pajamas out?
Sarah. They were new.
His pajamas were? Do you remember what they looked like?
Yeah, they had sports cap sleeves.
You know, I know you testified a little bit earlier that most of his clothes and stuff were in his bedroom at your house. Where was Brendan supposed to be the following morning, Tuesday morning?
School.
So did you pack up some clothes for him?
Yes.
Where was he going to spend the night that night?
DJ's.
You indicated that Sarah put him in his pajamas and he had slippers on his feet, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember what kind of slippers he wore?
Mickey Mouse.
All right, so once Brendan was all clean and in his pajamas and all packed up, what did you and Sarah do?
I wanted to put him in the wagon. She wanted to piggyback ride him. So that's what she did.
And where were you taking him?
Down to DJ's. We walked.
Okay, and that's a block and a half from your house?
Walk.
Block. What time did you and Sarah take him down to his dad's apartment?
I guess around 8:15.
And how long does it take you to walk from your house to your son's apartment?
10 minutes.
So while Sarah was giving Brendan a piggyback, what were you carrying? If
His
anything.
clothes and he stopped halfway. It got cold, so she put him down and put his coat on.
Had you been carrying it before you put it on him?
Yes.
How did you know Brendan was cold?
He told me, he said, I want my jacket. Because I said, do you want to put it on before you leave? And he said, no, but we walked halfway. He said, I'm cold, so I put it on him.
Okay. As you approached, you walked up Virginia Avenue, correct?
Yes.
As you got closer to your son's apartment building, did you walk all the way up to Cooper Street and go around the front, or did you go behind to get to his door?
Behind.
And when you arrived there, was the downstairs door locked or was it unlocked?
It was unlocked. We went up.
There have been times in the past when you would get to your son's apartment and you couldn't get in the bottom door because it was locked.
Yes.
And what would you do? How would you get in?
I kept a screwdriver and DJ and in Brendan's wagon, and then I popped it open. That's usually how I got in.
Okay. Did you ever just holler up to him to come let you in?
Sometimes, yeah.
Was anyone present in the apartment when you arrived there with Brendan and Sarah?
No.
Do you know where your son was?
He was, I don't know if he met us after or he was there. I can't really remember that.
When you got inside his apartment, what did you do with Brendan's clothes for the next day?
I put him on the table.
And where's that table located?
It's up against the wall when you first walk in. The kitchen's here. There's a wall here, right there.
Okay, like in the main living area?
Yes.
Yeah, when Brendan was going to spend the night, when Brendan was going to sleep over at his dad's house, do you know where he would sleep?
On the couch.
Well, was that a regular couch or was it a pull-out couch, like with a bed in it?
He had a pull-out couch. It broke. And then they got that for temporary.
Okay. But so that one, the one that was in there at this time was not a pull-out couch, right? Okay. So whether your son was there or once he got home, did you and Sarah leave right away or did you hang out for a little while?
No, we hung out.
And what were you guys doing?
Sarah was on the big chair with Brendan, and they were looking at videos with music on it, and then TJ and I were talking.
How long do you think you guys stayed at your son's apartment?
Probably a half hour. I have work in the morning.
And what was Sarah using to show Brendan the music video?
Her iPhone.
Approximately what time do you think it was when you and Sarah left DJ's apartment?
About 8:45. Maybe a little. 5 minutes here and there. Yes.
Was that the stuff that you carried to your son's house for Brendan in the morning?
Yes.
And looking at these 5 photographs, do they fairly and accurately show what you saw with your own eyes on that Monday night?
Yes.
Is there evidence of evidence?
With no objection, be admitted.
Judge, we're going to publish those to the jury at this time. Okay, Mrs. Creato, is that the pajama shirt that Brendan was dressed in?
Yes.
That's the new pajamas that you said you just got? And those were the pants that went with those pajamas?
Yes.
And that's what he was wearing when you left? I'm sorry, Judge, I should be putting the exhibit numbers on the record. The shirt was number 50 and the pants are number 51. And can we see Stacy's exhibit 52? And do you recognize that?
Yes.
Is that one of Brandon's slippers that he was wearing on his feet that night?
Yes.
And this is the apartment in your son's, I'm sorry, the living room in your son's apartment, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and what do we looking at here?
The school clothes and the voucher for the pay for the daycare and the sneakers.
Okay. And you testified earlier that when you and Sarah were taking him over to his dad's house that he asked for his jacket. Is that blue sweatshirt that we see on the chair, the jacket that you were referring to?
No, it was
No.
a straight jacket.
It was a what?
A straight jacket.
Oh, okay. All right. Can we lights, please? So after you and Sarah left the defendant's apartment on Monday night, you said it was around 8:45. What was the time you spoke with your son?
6 o'clock in the morning.
And how is it that you spoke with him?
Called me, told me Brandon was missing.
What did you do when he told you that?
I said, did you check everywhere? And I flew out of bed and I yelled at my husband to get out, the baby was missing. And I just threw pants on and shoes and ran down there.
If you recall, when you were running down to your son's apartment, did the sun come up yet? Or was it still dark out?
It was dusk. You could see right.
And as you were running to your son's apartment, did you run into him anywhere on your way there?
I did.
Where was that?
He was coming around the front of the building running and I was running. And I obviously needed to find him, but I said, call 911.
And to your knowledge, did he do that?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, we are going to replay the 911 call. And at this time, I have listening aid transcripts for the jurors in court.
All right, you provided a copy to counsel.
I have them sitting right here, Judge, you're ready to go. For the record, you've been pre-marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 49.
Members of the jury, from time to time there's a recording that's played. A listening aid is prepared. It's simply that, it's a listening aid. It's a transcript of what you will hear on the tape. At the end of the day, what you hear on the tape is the evidence, not what was in the listening aid. These are just provided to you so that you can follow along and make it a little bit easier to understand what's being said.
I'm sorry, Judge.
Thank you.
Where's your emergency? I just woke up from the funeral something. Okay, what's your address, sir? It's 103 Cooper Street. 103 Cooper? Come on, he's out. He's out of there? No, yeah, he's missing. Alright, and what's your address, 103 Cooper? Yeah. And with him? And I haven't touched it. What is it? Haven't touched it. Haven't touched it. And what's your phone number again? Dave? Yeah, I'm in Dave. you didn't hear anything or see anything or nothing like that? No, I just woke up and he wasn't in my phone. I don't know if he wandered out or what happened. I don't know where he is. The door was locked. I guess he unlocked it and left. Alright, and your address is 103 Cooper Street in Haddon Township, right? Yes. Apartment D as in dog? Yes. Okay, I already had the police on the way, sir. What is your name? My name is DJ, your last name? Creato. Spell for me. Creato. And phone number 609-314-1572? Yes. Alright, sir, do me a favor, just hold on. They have the police on the way, don't hang up. We'll see if the police dispatcher wants to speak to you, okay? Alright, stay on the phone. The police over there. The copy of what's on the bottom goes up. So that's what lost the doors was what? I don't know what happened.
Can I just ask you just as a backward
Yes, Jennifer. Mrs. Creato, you just heard the tape and saw the transcript. There's an unidentified woman in the transcript. Can you tell us who that was?
It's me.
Did you yourself check your son's apartment for Brendan?
Yes,
And do you remember when you did that, if your son went with you?
he did.
And was there another location that you checked after you checked your son's apartment?
We looked around the area.
Did you go back to your house and look as well?
Yes.
I don't have anything else, thank you.
Good morning, Mrs. Creato. I just want to go over a few things that you told Ms. Shawn that you had a question for you, okay? If I ask you anything you don't understand, or if you don't hear me, please tell me, and I'll speak up, or I'll try to ask a different way. Then, that night when Sarah gave Brendan the bath, were you with them in the bathroom, or were you kind of coming down? Where were you during that bath night?
Downstairs with my husband and 2 insurance men.
And do you know about how long Sarah gave Brendan the bath?
Oh yeah, 20 minutes.
Were there any renovations that were done in that bathroom?
Yes.
What kind?
Sarah redid the tile and the tub.
Okay, when you say redid it, what do you mean?
Paint, like stripped it, painted with this kit,
Like epoxy paint, bathroom paint?
something like that.
And how long before Brendan's bath has she done that?
It was done within the past couple weeks. Actually, it was his first time in the clean, painted bath.
And was this the first time anyone had taken a bath in the painted bath?
Yes.
After the bath, you say that you and Sarah walked Brendan back to DJ's apartment, right?
Yes.
And you said he was cold on that walk?
Yes.
I'm not sure you were. Do you remember how cold it was that night?
It was chilly.
And this is about 8:15 or so?
Something like that, yes.
And you said that when you got to DJ's apartment, you believe that the door was unlocked?
Yes.
But that typically if it were locked, you'd be able to get in?
Yes.
Could you describe, you said you had a screwdriver for that purpose. Could you describe that for us?
It's a long, thin screwdriver I used. I kept it in the front of the wagon, because I usually walked him down with the wagon. When he went camping, I used to take care of his rat and hedgehog.
Well, you said you didn't need it.
Feed it.
So you were able to get into the apartment with this screwdriver?
Yes.
And would you do that regularly?
Yes.
Would other people do that?
I don't know. I think my husband did once.
Now, there are 2 doors to get into DJ's apartment, right?
Yes,
So, for now, let's talk just about the downstairs main entrance from the street or from the curb, okay? That's the door that you would pick with the screwdriver?
yes,
About how many times would you say you did?
probably a dozen.
And are there 2 locks on that door?
Yes,
A top lock, a deadbolt,
yes,
and a bottom handle lock, right?
yes,
And that just has a little twist on it?
yes.
It's fair to say you weren't able to pick the deadbolt, right?
No,
Did you have a key for the deadbolt?
no,
Was that deadbolt regularly locked?
usually not. Unless the tenant upstairs when he lived there, yes.
Okay. And was anybody living upstairs at the time that this happened?
No,
After that other tenant moved out, did you ever find that top lock wrong?
no,
So the deadbolt was regularly not locked at that point.
correct.
And the bottom lock, the knob lock, is the one that you were able to pick
Yes.
regularly with the screwdriver, okay?
Yes,
So when you left that night, you say you locked and checked the door, you just mean that knob lock that you could pick.
yes,
You did not lock the deadbolt, right? And DJ didn't follow you out and lock it behind you.
no,
The upstairs apartment door, so from the hallway to DJ's actual apartment, that had 2 locks as well?
yes,
Did you lock either of those when you left?
no.
Do you remember whether or not DJ locked either of those behind you, or did you hear anything as you were leaving?
Didn't hear anything. Actually, Sarah peeked back in because he was upset that we were leaving.
Right.
Make sure he was okay, and he was.
And you said that Brendan regularly stayed at your house, right?
Yes,
And he had toys and clothes and food there,
yes,
and he would regularly carry back and forth whatever he needed to say to dad at night.
yes,
Did I hear you correctly there? He obviously was a well cared for boy,
yes,
a lot of love from your side and from his mother's side,
yes,
and plenty of clothes and toys and food everywhere.
yes,
He was free.
yes,
He was talking and potty training and doing
Yes.
all the normal things a 3-year-old does. He was able to put his own shoes on,
yeah,
sometimes on the wrong feet,
yeah,
unlock doors,
yes,
go downstairs.
yes,
I believe you told Ms. Shaw during her direct examination that he did not go out by himself.
no,
Did you ever have occasion for him to go outside at your house by himself?
just out back,
Okay. When you say out back, you mean to the backyard?
yes, backyard,
But he would just open the door and go out?
yes.
Okay. He wouldn't ask permission?
Usually no,
And there were times you had to reprimand him for that?
yeah,
Because he didn't want to go out?
Yeah.
And he wasn't supposed to? Would you take Brendan around on walks in the neighborhood?
yes,
And would you do that often?
yes,
Between you, your husband, Sarah, and DJ, would you regularly go around your neighborhood, your collective neighborhood?
yes,
Brendan enjoyed that?
yes,
And would you go to Cooper River Park with Brendan?
yes, with the dogs,
Run the dogs and let Brendan run?
yes,
Would you do that regularly?
yes.
How's Brendan with strangers?
He's comfortable around strangers,
Friendly?
yes,
Talkative?
yes,
When you arrived that morning, after your son called you, did you drive or did you walk?
I ran,
And how long did you say it took you to get from your house, well, from your bed, when DJ called you to, when you saw DJ coming around the corner? Under 2 minutes?
probably 2 minutes,
Was anybody else there when you got there?
no,
And did I hear you correctly that you said you told DJ to call 911?
yes,
When you got there, what was DJ doing?
running around the corner, like upset.
And as he called
Like
9,
panicky,
as he called 911, did you and he continue to look for Brendan?
yes,
Did you continue that until the police arrived?
yes,
And the other people ultimately arrived while you and DJ were looking?
Sam pretty much arrived before the police did.
What about your husband?
I don't remember when he arrived, to be honest. It's kind of a blur.
Why did you suggest that DJ call 911?
I had experience with my daughter Sarah, like just wandering off, and she walked off with a man one time, and I don't mess around with that kind of stuff.
So you felt better safe than sorry?
Yes.
At the time you told DJ to call 911, you didn't think anything like this had happened?
No.
Ms. Creato, would you consider yourself a spiritual person?
Yes.
I don't mean to impose on you with my questions, but I want to talk to you a little bit about that. When I say spiritual, I mean not necessarily in a religious sense. Is that how you understand it?
Yes.
Could you describe to me what you mean by spiritual?
Judge, I'm not objecting to this one.
I see counsel something. Sometimes when we have sidebar discussions, I'll ask you to step up, and that's because it's like they deal with possibly best happening. So the moves matched. I tell the story years ago. I asked the actor to step off. He actually left, and then we finished the discussion. So from time to time that happens, but that's the reason. So it's not at all. With that, Mr. Bashir, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Creato, could you describe what you mean by spiritual?
I'm spiritual. I pray, I meditate, I believe in my higher power.
Do you go to psychics?
Yes.
Clairvoyants, things like that?
Yes,
Do you believe in spirits?
I do.
Your husband and son also?
Yes.
Mrs. Creato, I have no other questions for you, thank you.
Any direct counsel?
Very briefly, Judge. Mrs. Creato, you said that sometimes Brendan would go out back by himself. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes,
Okay, and do you have a backyard in your home?
I do.
And is it fenced in?
It is.
And did it have toys and whatnot for Brendan out there?
Yes.
And he never went out there by himself in the dark, did he?
No.
And with regard to the door to your son's apartment, I think you indicated that you would sometimes open it with a screwdriver, is that correct?
Correct.
And you're referring to the downstairs door that's the exterior door, correct?
Yes.
If you would have to enter his apartment that way, how would you get into the top door?
It wasn't locked. Well, the bottom part would lock, but you could still open and close it. The only way it would lock is if you were on the inside in the deadbolt, because it didn't catch. You could lock, but it wouldn't catch.
And when did it hit the point where it wasn't latching? I'm going to use the word latching, is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, when did that start happening?
I don't know. It just never locked, unless you physically locked it from the inside.
I think you indicated when Mr. Fushino was asking you questions that there was a time when you were taking care of your son's pets.
Yes.
Do you remember that testimony? How long was that before Brenda went missing?
It was in the summer.
And at that time, you had a key to the apartment at that time, didn't you?
I did.
And did you use the key to access both the bottom and the top locks?
It didn't work on the bottom.
Okay.
That's why I had to break in, because of the pets. But it did work on the top. He only gave me the one for the back door.
For his part of the second floor, right? I don't have anything else, Judge. Thank you,
Just
Mrs.
additional
Creato.
questions.
No, Your Honor, thank you, thank you.
You may sit down. Thank you very much. Next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state's next witness is going to be Officer Constance Nicholson.
I ask you to come forward and stand right before the clerk here to my left.
Officer Constance Nicholson.
Do you swear or affirm testimony that you shall give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
Oh, okay, nice shot. Good morning, officer. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where you work?
The Delaware River Port Authority.
The Delaware River Port Authority Police Department?
Police Department.
And what is your current job with their police department?
K-9 officer.
How long have you been with the Delaware River Port Authority Police Department?
Just over 13 years.
Can you describe your duties as a K-9 officer or patrol person with your department?
We mostly patrol the PACO line and all the neighboring boroughs from Lindenwood to Philadelphia. We ride the trains, patrol the stations, and we do if there's any mutual aid assistance that they need a K-9, we would go to those jobs as well.
I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up just a little bit. And what do you mean by mutual aid to the other localities?
If there's any towns along the PACO line that we cover, we will report to those areas if they do need K-9.
Okay, could you tell us again, what towns does that cover from where to where?
Lindenwood to Philadelphia.
What kind of dog do you have?
German Shepherd.
And what is your dog's name?
Cowan, K-A-U-E-N. It means to bite or to chew in German.
And how long have you and Callan been? Would it be proper to call you partners?
Yes.
Okay, how long have you and Callan been partners?
Since 2013, so just over 4 years.
When you and Callan were first paired up, can you describe for the jury what kind of training you went through with Callan?
We went to school, or went through the academy, the K-9 Academy in Philadelphia, and we go to what's called patrol training. We do agility, criminal apprehension, tracking, article searches, we do gambler protection, those sorts of things.
Okay, and you said that's patrol training, correct?
Yes,
And is Callan trained for a second function?
yes.
And what's
He's also
that?
scent trained.
Okay, and what does being scent trained involve?
He is trained to be an explosive bomber.
I want to go back to the patrol training for a moment. One of the things you mentioned is that Callan is trained to do article searches. Could you give us an example of that?
If a individual takes a lady's purse and he runs into the woods and he happens to drop the purse, we could go in and do an article search, and he would potentially be able to find that article.
You also mentioned I believe you referred to it as apprehending criminals.
Yes.
And can you give us an idea of what that would involve?
Mostly felony jobs. We see someone stabbing someone, they run into the woods, and I can send the dog in to apprehend that individual.
And the last thing I think I heard you mention was tracking. Can you explain tracking for us, what that is?
We train to track not only criminals, but children, elderly individuals that may have Alzheimer's and things like that. So we start a track maybe into a woods or a field, and they are trained to smell the most recent odor and track them.
So they can assist in finding missing individuals, or Cal and Ken?
Yes.
Do you and Cal have to continue to attend regular training and updates?
Yes, ma'am.
How often does that occur?
Twice a month.
And why is it twice a month?
1 day is for patrol and 1 day is for the scent.
And where do you and Cal go to keep that his training, I guess, and yours, updated?
Philadelphia Canine Academy.
I'm going to ask you, please, if you would, to direct your attention to Tuesday, October the 13th of 2015. Were you working that morning?
Yes, ma'am.
What shift were you working?
7 to 5.
Did you respond to any calls in Haddon Township?
Yes.
Do you recall where you were called to?
Yes, the 100 block of Cooper Street.
And what was the nature of the call that you were responding to?
Missing 3-year-old child.
And why were you in particular called out?
To utilize my dog, who is trained in tracking, to potentially find the child, to help him try and find the child.
Can you tell us that morning, what was your dispatch time?
7:21.
Do you remember where you were when you were dispatched there? Like where you were physically when you received the call to come out to Haddon Township?
I was on my way into work.
Okay.
I called myself into service and was on my way to show up for work.
And once you were dispatched out to the Cooper Street address, how did you get there?
My marked patrol unit, K9 unit.
Can you describe for us, describe your marked patrol unit for us? Beginning with, what kind of vehicle is it?
It's a 44.
And is it especially equipped because you're a K9 unit?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of stuff is in your vehicle?
It has a cage in the back. We have a special door for the dog. We have a heat sensor system. It has all of our equipment in it, all of our leads, harnesses, keep order in the back, things like that.
And can you explain for us, what is a harness?
Harness is what we use for tracking. It goes around their chest and torso area, and the lead connects to the top of it, so that when they do track, they just pull you along. They don't really have anything restricting you other than the handler themselves.
And is there any other special equipment for Cowan that your vehicle is equipped with?
The heat sensor system, I'm not sure what's that.
What's that for? What does that do?
If the vehicle gets too hot in the summer, it will set off an alarm, or too cold in the winter, and it'll set off an alarm and let us know that it's heating up and he needs to get out.
Where did you go when you and Cowan first arrived in Haddon Township in response to this call? Where's the first place you went?
The command post.
And do you remember where that was located?
Right on the corner of Virginia and Cooper, I believe.
Did you speak with anyone when you arrived, like check in?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you talk to?
Detective Quinn.
Do you know which department Detective Quinn was with?
Haddon Township.
How did you identify yourself? Well, let me ask you this. When you first arrived and you get out of the car, does Cowan get out of the car with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so how did you identify yourself to Detective Quinn?
I stated my name and rank and that I was a K-9 officer and there to help search for the child.
During the course of your conversation with Detective Quinn, did you ask him for anything?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you ask him for?
Just an article of clothing that belonged to the child.
Did you get a description of the child at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your understanding of the child you were looking for?
3-year-old boy, he had brown hair. He was in his pajamas with orange on them.
Other than asking Detective Quinn for either an article of clothing or a personal item, did you ask him to do anything else?
I asked him when he retrieved it to wear latex gloves, just to, when he retrieved the item, just to wear those.
Why did you want him to do that?
So that he wouldn't contaminate his scent on the actual item that belonged to Brendan.
And do you know where Detective Quinn went after you had this conversation with him?
Back to the residence of the child.
And what did you do while Detective Quinn was retrieving a personal item of Brendan's?
I prepared my partner for the job that we have at hand.
Okay, and explain to us what you do when you're preparing Callan to start a track.
We usually walk the dog, let him use the bathroom, make sure he's well hydrated. I put his tracking harness on. I prepared myself as well.
What did you do to prepare yourself?
I had a jacket on because it was chilly that morning. And sorry. I thought that I would maybe wear it because if we found a child, I could put it on him. It was chilly. But I left it because it's cumbersome to wear when you work for your dog.
Okay.
And I also retrieved a toy to reward you with.
Can you explain to us how the reward toy works with Callan?
Basically, when he finds something, depending on if it's a particle, if we're doing a track, things like that, he gets rewarded. And he works very hard, very, very hard for that toy. And usually that toy is only given to him for that task.
So he has to find whatever he's looking for to get that toy.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry, I might have asked you this, but where do you keep the toy during the track?
In my right pocket.
Does he know it's in there?
Yes, he does. He has ripped off a few pockets for it.
So, did Detective Quinn bring you an item that belonged to Brandon?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he bring for you?
Red velvet slipper.
Thank you. Just a minute. Can you see those items you want, please? So I'm going to ask you to take a look at State's Exhibit number 52. Do you recognize what that is? What is that?
That's the slipper that he uses.
Okay. If you could just hold that up for the jurors, they've already seen it on the big screen. When Detective Quinn came out of the apartment with that Mickey Mouse slipper, was he wearing latex gloves as you had requested?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he do with the slipper?
I had retrieved 2 plastic bags from my canine unit and asked him to put it in the inner bag.
Okay, so you put one bag inside the other?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And what is the purpose of putting the article inside 2 bags?
So that it wouldn't be contaminated by my scent.
What was the next thing you did after you had the bags and you were ready to go?
I put those bags with the item in my pocket.
Which pocket do you put the reward toy in?
My right.
All right, so how did, tell us how you would begin a track, or in this case, how you did begin.
I went to the location of the residence where Brendan lived, and as a handler, we bring our dog into a heel, which is a sit to your left side. He's well aware that he's going to be tracking because he wears his tracking harness. I switch him over to a different type of lead, which is a retractable lead, which is approximately 20 plus feet long, and give him command to track.
So using that lead, does that give Callan a little bit of room to run?
Yes.
And backing up, you said you started out at the residence. Which part of the residence did you start out at? Like, where were you standing exactly?
I stood at the door of the residence. The door was to my back. I was facing north.
Okay, so what do you do now that he's got the correct lead on and he's wearing his harness? What's the next thing to do with him?
I presented him with the slipper to sniff it.
And why did you let me back up a little bit. What does that red slipper refer to in canine terms?
A mock scent pad. When we do run tracks, we at times know the last known location of the individual. Upon my arrival to the area, it was highly saturated with many individuals in and out of the command post area. So I wanted to make sure that my canine had something that belonged to Brendan, something that was sent out.
What did Cowan do once you gave him the command to track?
He turned to the left, which would have been west, and went behind the apartment building.
Okay, did he come out to a street?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what street you were on?
Virginia.
Before I move on, I'm sorry, officer, I forgot to ask you, what time did this first track begin?
Approximately, I believe it's 4 or 8 o'clock. I don't recall the exact time.
If you had an opportunity to look at your report, would that refresh your recollection as to what time the first track started?
Must it?
Did the first track start at around 7:30 in the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And once Cowan led you out behind the property, where did he take you from there?
Down Virginia.
How far down Virginia Avenue did he go?
A few blocks.
Can you describe for us his behavior as he was going down Virginia Avenue?
Dogs cast and they serpentine, looking for scent. He was taking me along, but he was serpentining basically as they're kind of S-ing back and forth, going from one side to the other, locating the scent, kind of boxing it.
So when you say S-ing back and forth, is that like a movement that Cowan was making with just his head?
But mostly his nose, but his body follows.
Okay. And what's he doing when he's serpentining? What's he looking for?
A scent.
And you also indicated that he was casting about. Is that different from serpentining?
Yeah, a lot of times they'll lift their noses and kind of cast about, almost when you're casting a fishing rod. It's similar to when you're fly fishing. They cast about and they are searching for that.
And did he give you any indication while you were on Virginia Avenue that he was picking up any scents?
No. He went along, he pulled me along, and but not that he was, doing something.
Okay. And you testified that he went a couple of blocks. Do you remember do you happen to remember the name of the street or when you stopped on Virginia Avenue?
No, ma'am.
Okay, can I approach the witness with what's marked for state's identification number 55? Do you recognize this map, officer? Okay, and that was a map that was just created yesterday, correct?
Yes.
And does that map show the track, the first track that you and Cowan took at 7:30 in the morning? Okay, and can you tell the jurors approximately how many blocks down Virginia Avenue did Cowan travel?
Approximately 3 blocks.
And what was the name of the street where the track where you stopped?
Stratford.
Okay, and does Virginia Avenue come to a T at Stratford Avenue there?
Yes.
Does that map that you're holding in your hand, State's Exhibit 55, does that fairly and accurately show the track that you took with Cowan the first time? Judge, I would ask if we can publish this to the jury, or move it into evidence and then ask that it be published to the jury.
With no objection, then get that, and you may publish.
I'm going to let you hold on to this copy. Thank you. Do you see the red bubble dot that's there on that map?
Yes, ma'am.
And what does that represent?
That's the residence where I began the traffic.
Okay. And what does the red line?
Yes, you keep your
I'm
voice up
sorry.
when you're looking this way. I'm sure the jury's hearing.
And looking at the red line that's drawn down Virginia Avenue, what does that line represent?
The path that we took when we
Okay. And where the track ends then, is that Stratford Avenue?
yes, ma'am.
And what did you do at Stratford Avenue when you came to that T intersection?
We just did an area search in the yards around that block area.
And did you find anything when you were looking around through the yards?
No, we didn't.
Lights, please. After you looked around in the area of Virginia and Stratford Avenue and didn't really see anything, where did you go?
We reported back to the campus.
And were you going to do a second track?
Yes,
Would Callan do 2 tracks in a row, or does he need to take a break?
I gave him a break.
Why did you give him a break?
Probably need to get hydrated, use the bathroom again,
And what,
and rest a little bit.
did you encounter, or did you want to attempt a second track?
Yes,
And did that track begin at 8:20 a.m.?
yes.
Now, when you began the second track with Callan, did anyone from your department accompany you?
Yes, Acting Sergeant Quigley from the Delaware River Port Authority.
Okay, keep your voice up, because I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. Can you answer that for me again? Who was with you?
Acting Sergeant Quigley from the Delaware River Port Authority.
Now, how did you begin the second track?
At the same location we started the first.
So the door?
Yes.
And again, tell us, what do you go through when you're, to let Callan know we're
I brought
starting?
him into a
Wait
heel.
minute. To let Callan know that we're getting ready to start a second track here.
He had his tracking harness on, and I had the toy and the article in my pockets and back to the location.
Okay, so you still have the slipper with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you use a retractable lead to give him a little room to run?
Yes.
Do you remember which direction Callan headed this time?
When he started the track, he went to the right.
So he went on Cooper Street?
Yes.
And how far did he take Cooper Street?
All the way to the end.
And what's the name of the street where Cooper Street ends?
Park Drive.
And when you hit Park Drive, is that where your Cooper River Park begins?
Yes, ma'am.
So what was Callan doing as you made your way from Cooper Street onto South Park Drive there?
He actually pulled me across the street.
What does that indicate to you?
When he pulls harder and tends to out-drag me, he's on scent.
And is there any other behaviors that you notice in Callan when you think he might be on scent?
His breathing is heavier, and again, pulling, panting.
What about his nose?
His nose usually stays to the ground because he is on the scent, so he doesn't need to lift it up.
So he stops with the casting about and serpentine? Now, when you were on, I'm sorry, you call it Park Drive, I'm going to call it South Park Drive, okay? When you were on South Park Drive, can you tell me, were you in the road, on the sidewalk? Where did he
There was a
lead you?
paved sidewalk or path on the side of South Park Drive,
Okay, and is that on the park side or on the neighborhood side?
on the park side,
So when you're on this path, tell me what's to the left of you.
a tree line.
Do you know what's on the other side of the tree line?
It was an open field.
Okay, and eventually Cooper River?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is on your right side?
South Park Drive.
And what's across the street from South Park Drive?
The neighborhood.
So there's homes along there? All right, at some point while you were on this pedestrian path in the park, did you come to the intersection of South Park Drive and Saginaw Avenue?
Yes, ma'am.
And what does the road do at that point?
The road curves to the right, and it would be, I guess, going to the south.
What did Callan do, or how is Callan behaving as you approach that area where South Park Drive is going to make a turn into Saginaw?
His pace continued to pick up. He was pulling harder, and he pulled me off the path,
Off the paved path?
off the paved path.
Do you know which direction he was going in at this point?
He was still continuing east.
And when he pulled you off the paved path, where did you go?
Along the tree line, and then there was an open field.
I'm sorry, along the tree line? As you were traveling along the tree line before you got to the open field, how was Cowan's breathing?
The breathing picked up, and again, he was pulling harder as we went along.
And was Sergeant Quigley still with you at this point?
Yes, ma'am.
So, you mentioned I'm sorry, did you say Cowan led you into a field?
Yes.
Or a clearing? How did you?
It was a clearing when we went off the path, it opened up into a clearing.
All right, how large was that clearing?
I would say approximately 100 yards.
Like the size of a football field? And what happened once you and Cowan were in the clearing?
He continued pulling harder, the pace picked up, and at that point it was very difficult for me to keep up with him.
How far out was your lead at this point?
All the way extended. It's approximately 20 feet away.
Did Cowan go all the way across the clearing?
Yes.
And where did he go when he got to the other side of it?
There's a small, narrow footpath. It was hard to see. There was grass, tall grass around it, little ground. We took the path.
He took you to the path?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did that path lead?
It went down a hill. It went down to a creek.
As you were traveling, you said the path went downhill, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
As you were traveling downhill on the path, can you describe what was on either side of you?
There's trees to the around us. There was a lot of overgrowth. There was some sort of a silver pole to our left.
A silver pole?
Yes.
And how wide was the path that you were traveling down?
It was very narrow. Basically, if you're walking with somebody, you would have to walk single file.
Okay. And can you just describe the foliage for us? Like, how heavy were the woods?
It was overgrown. There was high grass, bushes, leaves, very thick.
As you were traveling down the narrow trail, who went down the trail first?
My partner counted.
Okay, and then you were right behind him?
Yes, ma'am.
And was anyone behind you?
Sergeant Quigley, Detective Sergeant.
Okay, so you've already testified there's a creek at the bottom of that trail, right, when you get to the bottom of the hill? What was Cowan doing when you got to the bottom of that trail?
He didn't pull me as hard as soon as we got to the bottom of the trail. He pulled me into that area, but he didn't kind of stop pulling as hard.
Can you explain where you find yourself when that trail ends? Like, what are your options at that point?
It comes to a T on the bed of a creek.
So which way did Cowan go?
He went to the right.
And how was his behavior at this time? I know you said he wasn't pulling, but had he resumed any of his previous behaviors?
He was still sniffing about, casting, kind of lifted his head up and was looking around. Not looking around, I guess, sniffing around percent.
Okay. And you said he went to the right, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
About how far did he travel to the right?
I would say approximately 20 feet or so.
Now, at the same time, when you got to the bottom of that T down at the creek, do you know where Acting Sergeant Quigley went?
He went to the left.
At the creek?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happens next?
At some point, he got my attention.
You don't recall how he got your attention? How far away was Sergeant Quigley from you at this point?
I had walked back towards him, so maybe 20, 30 feet.
Did you walk all the way over to near where Sergeant Quigley was standing?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you see when you got there?
Small child. Letting me water.
And the small child that you saw laying in the water, did the child fit the description of the child that you were looking for?
He did.
Okay, in what way?
He had the pajamas that were described in the Ebola. He had brown hair.
How close was he to the shore of the creek?
He was just right on the side, laying on the front.
And could you tell which part of his body was laying on the rock? I'm going to ask you to take a look at, first let's look at State's Exhibit 56. Do you recognize what's shown there? Okay, and what does that map show?
That's the second track that I marked on the road.
That's the one you took, that was your second track, you said?
That was the second track, yes.
I need you to keep your voice up. I'm standing next to you, so I'm not
Okay.
sure if everybody again can hear you, but keep it up where you
Okay.
can. All right, and again, there's a line that's shown for the track, correct?
Yes.
And does that track, or does the line on that map fairly and accurately show the track that you and Callan took
Yes.
when you found the child in the creek?
Yes.
Judge, I would move State's Exhibit number 56 into evidence and ask that it be published to the jury.
No good.
No objection, leave it in evidence, it may be published.
Okay, and as with the last map, Officer Nicholson, again, we have a pinpoint. What does that pinpoint represent?
The start of our track with the resident.
Okay, and then there's a I'm going to point down here so everybody knows what I'm talking about. There's a straight line. The Cooper Street doesn't go straight down to the park, but he went straight down Cooper Street, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this street along here, it's a little bit cut off on the map. Which street is that?
That's South Park Drive.
Okay. And you also indicated that when you came to an intersection where it wasn't really an intersection, there was just a turn. That was when Cowan left the path? This street doesn't have a name on it. Do you know what it is?
Saginaw?
Okay. But does that represent where Cowan went off the paved path in the park?
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to get, please?
Now I'm going to ask you to look through State's Exhibits 57 through 68. So just flip through them and let me know when you're done. So looking at those State's Exhibits photographs 57 through 68, do they fairly and accurately show what you saw with your own eyes during the track, that second track with Cowan through Cooper River Park and down to where you saw the child in the creek?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I would move those into evidence.
Objection, no objection, leave it in evidence.
Good lights, please. Okay, Officer Nicholson, this is State's Exhibit number 57. Can you tell us what we're looking at here? Just describe where you were at this point.
We were on the path. The South Park Drive is to our right.
So that's the two-lane street that we're looking at there, that's South Park Drive?
Yes.
Okay, and do you see the yellow traffic sign indicating there's a big bend coming up?
Yes.
When the road bends there, which street does that turn into?
Saginaw.
And looking at that, the black paved path there, is that the path you and Callan were on?
Yes.
Now, you testified that as you came up on the bend, I believe you testified that Callan left the path, is that right?
Yes.
And does this show the area where Callan left the paved path?
Yes.
And looking at that picture, if you can, tell us which direction did Callan take you to?
He took us to the left.
When you say to the left, you're referring to this path right here that's kind of in the center of the photograph?
Yes.
Okay, and again, how was he behaving as he entered this first part of the woods?
He was pulling and pulling harder and harder.
Nice picture, please. And can you tell us what is represented here in State's Exhibit number 59?
That's the area where he pulled me into.
Okay, is this the area where you said he took you along the tree line?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you get through this area, where are you going to find yourself?
To an open area.
Okay, officer, looking at State's Exhibit number 60, is this the open field that you were referring to?
Yes.
Okay, and I believe that you gave some testimony that there was a silver pipe or something coming out of the ground on the opposite side of the field. Are you able to see that in this photograph, or is it, can you see it? Do you know where it is?
It would be up on the left right there.
If I may, right in this area? If you can't see it, it's okay. Okay. I probably have a better angle. Could we have State's Exhibit number 61, please? Okay. And do we have here, now do you see the silver pipe that you were referring to before?
Yes, ma'am.
And who's this?
That's me.
Okay, and is this
Emma
your
Hartman.
Callan? State's Exhibit 62. Now, just for reference purposes, what is this pole right here? Is it still the same silver pole?
Yes.
And can you tell us what we're looking at here in this picture?
That's the small path that he was into.
Okay, can you see an individual wearing a white shirt at the bottom of that hill?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's down at the bottom of that hill near where that individual is standing?
Where the path goes into a T and there's a creek. It opens up.
State's Exhibit 62? All right. And is this the trail that you and Callan and Sergeant Quigley took down to the creek?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you testified that when you got to the bottom, when you get to the bottom, you're in front of the creek, correct?
Yes.
Do you see the creek in this picture?
Yes.
Where is it?
To the left.
Over in this area?
Yes.
Describe how the water level was that day when you got down there.
It's very good.
Okay. Can I see the next exhibit, please? Actually, Judge, these are backwards in here. I numbered these backwards. My apologies. This picture is actually marked as State's Exhibit 64. So when you get to the bottom of the path and it turns into a T, would this be what you're looking at?
Yes.
And then, could you go back to the other one? I believe you testified that Callan started to go to the right. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And which direction is this photograph?
To the right.
So this is the direction that Callan traveled. How far did you say?
Maybe 20 feet.
Okay, and does this picture fairly and accurately show the condition of the woods that morning?
Yes.
And this is State's Exhibit 66. What are we looking at here in 66?
That's where the path goes to the left.
So that's the direction that Sergeant Quigley went in when you and Callan went to the right, correct?
Yes.
Can we see 67, please? Okay, officer, I'm going to ask you to look at this, and can you tell us again, which side is this to, the right or the left?
To the left.
Okay, is it just a little bit further down to the left?
Yes.
Okay, when you're looking at this photograph, this is State's Exhibit 67. Do you see the large tree here that is, appears to have been cut, it must have fallen and cut? Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. When Sergeant Quigley gestured to you or communicated to you, however he did, that he needed you to come over to where he was, where was he standing?
By the tree there.
Okay. And can you tell us what was on the other side of that tree that's cut off?
Right.
And just to make sure it's a fair and accurate reflection. State's Exhibit number 68, is that what you saw when you went over to Sergeant Quigley? Judge, we're just going to publish this to the jury and not put it on the TV.
That's fine.
Guys, I'll just pass it. Officer, after you and Sergeant Quigley found Michael in the water, what did Sergeant Quigley ask you to do?
To go back up to the road to guide everyone down to that area, the investigators.
I'm sorry, I had to ask you.
I'm sorry. To go back up to the road
Okay,
so that guide everyone back to the location.
okay. And was Sergeant Quigley going to call it in?
Yes, ma'am.
When you got back up to the road, how long was it before the first officers arrived?
It was quick.
Just minutes? Once that area had been secured, do you recall the area being secured?
Yes, ma'am.
What was it secured with?
Proximity gate.
Once the area was secured, did you take up another post still at the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
I stood post at the beginning, at the end of the South Park Drive.
Did you at some point return back into that field where the pipe was?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you doing there?
Guiding everyone down to the location.
Showing them where to get down to the creek?
Get down.
Okay, and that's where we saw you standing in that picture with Cado, correct? Based on all the training and the experiences that you've had with Cowan, can you give us an idea of why Cowan went to the right a little bit when you got down to the bottom of the creek?
Could be multiple reasons. Scent travels. Doesn't necessarily stay in one spot. When you blow out a candle and you see the smoke, it moves. It's how scent can be at times. That area was overgrown. It was almost like a funnel effect. It opened up into the park. So with it being so overgrown, it kind of filtered down into a funnel in the smaller creek area.
Okay, so would that be, if it's funneling down into the location in the creek area, would that make the scent lighter or heavier?
Smaller area.
I don't have any other questions, officer. Thank you.
I don't think this is going to be that long, Hunter. You let me cross before the break.
Glad we did that.
Thank you, Hunter. Officer Nicholson, good morning. Just a few questions to follow up on this job. When Cowan is tracked, what is it that he's actually smelling like? Is it dander from a person? Is it
Odor.
oil? Oh, but is there something specific that's made out of? You made the analogy to smoke. Is there actual particulate?
That was just to describe how scent would travel. When they're trained to track or look for the most recent odor.
And it's specific to the ground though? You wouldn't track in the air? Is that correct?
No, it's not specific.
Okay, well that's what I'm trying to understand. If I'm following in, you're saying that when he's tracking, his nose stays to the ground, right?
When he's on scent, his nose will stay to the ground if that's where the scent is.
Okay. And when he's casting, that's when he takes his nose up and he moves about trying to catch the scent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And on that first track, the one that began around 7:30, you said, and would you be shown that Stacy did 55?
Track one.
Track one. Ma'am, can you say whether and for how long he was on scent during that first track?
I can't.
Did you write a report after completing this tracking for your supervisor?
I did a report that day.
And may I show that to you, ma'am? Again, it's marked as D2. Yes.
Yes.
And marked like that. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Is that the report? Is that your
Seems to
report?
be yes.
That's your
Yes, sir.
signature at the bottom page,
Yes.
each page? Okay, I want you to look at the second page, the second paragraph. Do you agree with me that that is the paragraph that describes the first track?
Yes.
Would you use? After reading that, would you agree with me that it was about 30 yards up the block that he lost the scent?
Yes.
And you wrote that down? This is the same day that you did the report?
I started it that day.
Okay. Well, my point, ma'am, is that it was much closer in time than as you sit here today, right?
Yes.
So it's fair to say if you wrote down at the time, you tracked the 30 yards and lost the scent, you were writing it down to the best of your abilities, you remembered it that day or the next day?
Correct.
Okay. So on that first track, we can agree he went 30 or so yards, lost the scent, and continued a certain time and cast, right?
Yes.
Then you go to the second track, right? Did you say, ma'am, when and where he was on the scent and when and where he was looking for the scent? And if you could be shown Stacy's at 56. Could you tell us again when he was on the scent and when he was serpentining, casting, looking for the scent?
At different times, he was casting and serpentining all the way down Cooper, and he was on scent when he crossed over.
Okay, so you're certain that at least when you get to the entrance of that park, that is when he's on scene. Fair? And when you get to the bottom of the T, you say that's when he begins to cast, but you describe it could be because of this funnel thing, right?
Yes.
And obviously he was successful, fair, in traffic.
Yes.
Yeah. Could you tell us how long odor stays on the ground or in the air?
Not accurately.
Okay. It would depend on weather
It
conditions,
would depend on the weather conditions and.
how many people are around.
Right.
So you can't say for either track when it was that the odor was left that calendar was able to detect, right? And when you were down at that creek bed with Acting Sergeant Quigley, was there anyone else that you saw?
When we went down there, I did not see anyone.
Did anyone else speak to you or report to Sergeant Quigley while you were down there?
No.
Not until you called it under public law enforcement, obviously. Officer Nixon, thank you for being here. I have no question.
Do you hear, Council?
I don't have any director, thank you.
Thank you very much. Members of the jury, we've reached the point of the morning we're going to have on the morning break. It will be our typical 15-minute break. Remember my admonition during this, during any break, discuss any aspect of the law. Testimony or things to be reminded of programs to be made. See you right back in 15 minutes.
Please rise.
Back in 15 minutes.